If you're one of the many Americans that are still finding themselves working from home, then this tip is for you. Hi, Audrey Thomas with Organized Audrey, bringing you today some reminders of how to continue to be productive while working from home. Because I don't think any of us thought that this pandemic would last this long. And I know even my next door neighbor was recently told that she's not going to be returning to her office for at least 2 years. Some of you right now are hoping that you would have been back to work by now. Some of you might be back to work and doing a hybrid model of part-time at work and part-time at home. But regardless of where you're working, I want to give you these tips because these can be applied at home and at work. So the first thing as far as being productive, especially while working from home, is that it's really important to have a daily routine, because routines are what help you keep from letting things slip in the cracks. Routines are what help you be most efficient because you have developed a process, and routines are what help you to avoid any kind of errors. So one of the things that you can do first thing in the morning is after you've had breakfast is to pack your lunch. And if you have children in the home, help them pack their lunches as well. That way it's already done, it's in the refrigerator, and then when lunchtime comes around or when people are hungry, they can grab their lunch and go and have that. I'm hearing from people as I'm polling them that they feel like they're spending a lot of time in the kitchen. And we've all heard the jokes about the COVID-10 or the COVID-15. And a lot of that is because you have disrupted your routine of being at the office, and now you're at home and you're not used to having access to your refrigerator as often as you do. So minimize the amount of time that you're in the kitchen by not only packing your lunch in the morning, but also taking a few minutes to figure out what you're going to have for dinner that night. Don't wait until 3 o'clock in the afternoon and go open the refrigerator or the pantry and say, okay, what do we have here that we can pull together and call dinner? Do a little bit of planning in the morning, pull some things out of the freezer if you need to. If there's any prep work like putting something in a slow cooker, go ahead and get that done as well. But take that time first thing in the morning to help save time later on in the day. Next up, this one's kind of important. If you're working from home, post your working hours or your intended working hours. And don't just put 8 to 5, okay? Especially if you've got kids in the home. Actually put your working hours and your break times that you're hoping to follow that day, because it will help you be more mindful of your workday. And I'm going to close this tip today talking about that as well. But if you've got other people in your home that are coming and going around you while you're trying to get work done, let's say you're working at the dining room table or the kitchen table, put your hours and put it on the back of your chair. And it's just a visual reminder to others that you do have work to focus on, but that you are going to be taking some breaks later in the day. All right, next up, build in what I call healthy interruptions. Now, we all have lots of interruptions in our day between the phone and email and instant messaging. And then if you're at home, other people, neighbors, and other things going on. But I want to give you some tips on how to build in healthy interruptions. So the first one is hydration. Get up out of your chair multiple times a day, go to the kitchen sink, get a drink of water, get that hydration in, and then return back to work. Just getting up and moving is going to be really important. And that kind of goes right along with this tip, is multiple times a day, give your body that movement. Don't just sit in your chair. I've had those days where I've got my Fitbit on my wrist, and at the end of the day, I've only done 800 steps. And those are the days where I literally have sat in front of my computer all day long. So you can get out of your seat and maybe do a 1-minute plank. Just get on the floor and do a plank. Do some sit-ups. Do 25 jumping jacks. If you want, put your walking shoes on and walk around the block. I recently had back-to-back virtual presentations in which I was going to have about a 45-minute break in between. So during that first presentation, I had my walking shoes on, and as soon as it was over, I ran outside and I walked around my yard about 4 or 5 times just to get some fresh air, to give my body that movement, get my blood circulating, right? And so think about many exercises that you can do throughout your day. Another healthy interruption for those of you with children is to let them know ahead of time that you're going to be taking breaks to either read a story or have a snack with them or take a mini walk with them. But let them know and take that time with them. And you'll find that when you return to your desk to do your office work, okay, you're going to have more focus and you're going to have more energy. Finally, this tip I learned years ago from my doctor is sometimes I just need to push away from my desk, especially when I'm working on deadline. I tend to carry that deadline stress right in my neck and my shoulders, and I'm hunched up at my computer. And so my doctor said, just Audrey, just push away from your desk, shut your eyes, and just take in some slow, deep breaths, then hold them for like a count of 5 to 8, and then release them also for a count of 5 to 8. And so he taught me to do that throughout my day, and it relaxes my shoulder muscles. But I also do it at night as I'm laying in bed, just to kind of get all the activity out of my head and for me to relax and to be able to go and get to sleep. Next up, are you having any of these thoughts go through your head? Have you been saying to yourself lately, gosh, I feel like my computer's on all the time, or I feel like I just never unplug and I don't really stop at the end of the day anymore? Maybe you say to yourself, wow, I used to have my weekends off and I never used to work on weekends. Well, if you have these thoughts going through your head, you are not alone. Just in the last month, Harvard Business Review and NYU released the data that they did on a study in which they're showing that our at-home workers right now are on average are working an additional 48.5 minutes per day. So it's not something just in your head. You really are probably working more hours a day. This study also showed that you're sending more emails to your peers and that you have an increase of meetings that you're attending by 13%. So you're attending 13% more meetings. But the good news is that those meetings are actually shorter. Now, it still means you have those interruptions in your workday because you need to go attend a meeting. But this data here is so telling as to what's going on. Now more than ever, it is so important for you to actually unplug at the end of the day and shut things off. I really don't think your employer wants you to have poor work-life balance. Your employer wants you to have personal time and work time. Your employer wants you to be engaged. They want you to be happy. They want you to be satisfied. And if you're catching yourself working extra hours and feeling like the balance has gone out the window, then you may need to be a little more diligent in literally shutting down and powering down your computer at the end of the day. If you have enjoyed these tips here today, would you consider hitting the red subscribe button for me below? I hope you have enjoyed these productivity pointers brought to you by Organized Audrey, where our goal is to help you get more done with less stress. Make it a great day.